not there. Somebody mute him. Talking to his damn wife.
I don't know if I can.
We're live, guys.
Hi, everybody. Awesome. What an auspicious way to start this show. Our producer hasn't muted himself, so it's coming through live on the show. Matt, mute yourself.
What happened?
Mute yourself.
Mute yourself.
On air.
God, producer, get off there.
Oh, good.
Anyway, everybody, welcome to Heathen Talk, Season 2, Episode 11. Tonight we're going to talk about all the stuff y'all have been talking about on social media for the last month or so. Should be fun. And then next week, I'm hoping we're going to get back into some serious episodes, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
By the way, if I disappear, it's because I lost power.
Yeah, y'all are in the middle of y'all call them typhoons or cyclones over there.
We're typhoons over here.
What we would call, in my neck of the woods, a hurricane.
But I just want to point out to all the other people I heard this week in my region, it is a typhoon, not a tsunami. They are two different things.
They are two very, very different things.
Yeah.
I'll point out to our East Coast listeners, we're not even going to pretend for half a second that our typhoon is anything like the hurricanes that you guys get on the left coast or the right coast. What we're getting is like the remnants of a Pacific typhoon. We're not getting the real thing.
You would have thought it was that way, though, from the way the Twitter was blowing up about the transit system. Like, avoid this street, avoid that street, stay indoors, don't go to work.
Well,
guys,
to
a little rain and a little wind.
To be fair, it really depends on where you're at. I mean, even yesterday, I was getting flooding in Georgetown when I was at work. So, because, people get all, like, surprised about, flooding in Seattle streets because, hey, doesn't it rain here all the time? It does. It rains constantly, but it doesn't rain heavy. So when it rains heavy, our system isn't set up to handle it.
It's true. So, Lauren.
It's, here, it finally got cold enough my hot tub's comfortable.
Do we have any events this week?
We don't have any events. Well, actually, there's an event next week. So my Kindred hosts their monthly. We're having our Oktoberfest pub moot. It's going to be at Cregan's Bar and Grill, 1:00 next Saturday. Good pub grub, really good beer, and get a chance to come out and be on the other side of the river. So you're avoiding all the chaos that is, if you're local, you know what I'm talking about, that's on the other side. And sadly, we don't have a bridge blowing up this week for you to watch. But it's still going to be a good time. We also have coming up, and the deadline for registration is a week from Monday. 2 weeks from Monday for Midwest Winter Moot. If you're wanting to come out to that, that's going to be at Osage Hills State Park, Oklahoma. Great time. I'm going to be doing a workshop. So you want to come out for that. We're going to have Heathen Talk swag to give away. They have an auction every year to help offset their costs for the next year. And I will have a bloat shirt as well as a quilt that is patterned. Let me see if I can actually get this to show up and you can actually see it. That is somewhat patterned. Go higher, yeah.
Yeah, let's go higher.
There you
go.
There it is.
That's a similar pattern to this. So you want to come out. It's going to be a lot of fun. As always, my dear friends over at Bifrost Way are running it. You want more information on that or anything other, or if you have an event coming up, go to our website. It's heathentalk.com. Click on events. You can look and see what's coming up, or if you have something coming up, let us know. We're happy to promote it. That's kind of part of our mission here, is to promote things that are going on. So go over, check it out, find something local. It kind of ties into our topic this week, because that's like the number one question I see on any kind of social media. Hey, I'm in so and so. Are there any heathens here? So.
Maybe.
We also have a networking page.
We do have a networking page. There are social media pages out the wazoo if you want to find heathens in your area. Just go find them.
There's an article on our site, too, about how to find them.
Oh, there you go.
Because we're pretty awesome like that. I guess I'm the only person on camera this week, which is awkward.
Well, I mean, I don't have a webcam yet. I got the whole new setup, no webcam.
Yeah, and I've got, a webcam that's practically brand new. I've only used it, 3 or 4 weeks now, and I don't know, maybe it fried in the power surge I had yesterday when the power went out. I don't know, it's just not working.
So we're having tech problems.
Yeah. Yay. And I had to go change laptops 15 minutes ago because mine stopped working. So yeah, we're it's all right. We will power through. So as Josh said, we do have lots of ways for you to get a hold of us. You can go to heathentalk.com. It's all there. But we're on Facebook, Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter. Really, I think we're almost everywhere but LinkedIn.
Yeah, our new motto, Heathen Talk.
I'm on LinkedIn, and I think I have Heathen Talk listed as...
So do I.
So, I mean, technically,
okay. I don't think we're on MySpace, because I don't know that that's still a thing.
Yeah, is anybody on MySpace? Yeah.
Matthew, I want you to go to myspace.com and sign Heathen Talk up. Thanks, buddy.
Justin Timberlake apparently is still on MySpace because he owns half of it. But yeah, that's about it.
That's fair.
If you don't have it, you need to use it.
Our new motto: we're here whether you like it or not.
Hey, I just want to state for the record, we are officially now the #1 Heathen podcast.
By attrition.
There is other competition, but yeah, the one that was bypassing us by putting out 8 million episodes a week went off the air. So yeah, we're now the #1.
Why they just
took their toys
suddenly? Yeah,
I've heard a few things. I've heard a few things about what happened, and you know what?
I'm gonna say this in their defense. Putting out that many episodes, hosting that much bandwidth is a lot of cost. And so if they weren't making enough money to cover, I could totally see why they would go off the air.
That's kind of where I was going with them.
Yeah.
That's not a cheap thing to do.
No.
And
it is not a cheap hobby. And they were putting out
that's
4
why
episodes
I swear my next podcast, I'm going to do something that's not a niche market, and I'm going to monetize the hell out of it. Pay me, bitches.
And speaking of which, if you would like to help support us, we do advertising. We do have a Patreon. That link is not only on our site. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, there should be a card. I don't entirely understand what cards are, but there is a card to our Patreon along with links to other things.
We are working on learning the YouTubes.
It is it
is that time in the show where we toast somebody.
Sweet.
Normally this is where we attempt to toast a heathen or someone who has benefited their community in some way, in a tangible way. I am using my power as the boss to usurp the toast tonight.
He does that.
I do.
And I have no problem with that tonight.
On Thursday, while I was at work, I got a text message from my grandmother saying that my great-grandma Laverne had passed away. And it's been a little rough the past couple of days. So I wanted to take this opportunity to raise a glass for my great-grandma Laverne, who was, to quote my dad, she was a really nice woman and made the best cake. There are people who are still fighting over her cake recipes. I don't know what's up with that. But she was always at every single family reunion, every family event. The woman was 93 years old and went to my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
I mean, she was ancient, but she was still kicking ass and taking names. It was crazy. And I miss her. So, to Grandma Laverne.
To Grandma Laverne.
So, Torrin, what are you drinking?
Well, I can't show y'all on camera tonight like I usually try to do, but this isn't anything that's super hard and difficult to find or super amazing and unique, because it's Oktoberfest, so I'm going traditional. I am drinking a Hacker Shore Marzen straight from Munich, Germany. It's one of the standards for Oktoberfest beer. And you know what? It's just a great, amazing, solid Oktoberfest. It's one of the ones by which Marsden's are judged by. So everybody go out and get a Hacker Shore at least this time of year every year. How about you, Josh?
I am drinking, and I'm actually just about to send it out over the Twitter because I'm a social media guru. I am drinking Atlas Hard Blackberry Cider. It's not my favorite one of theirs, but it is a pretty decent blackberry cider. Their apricot's better.
It's better than what I had feared you might be drinking.
I'm broke and couldn't afford to drink that.
I thought people drank that because they were broke.
Yeah, I'm broke enough I can't even afford to buy it.
Ouch.
Oh.
Lauren?
I'm actually drinking. It's exciting. I am drinking, it's a seasonal Angry Orchard that my husband bought me because my husband's awesome, and it is their apple ginger. Not my favorite because I am more of a fan of their cinnamon, but it's pretty good, and it is definitely very fall, very no, it's actually not as sweet as a lot of theirs are, which can be my complaint sometimes with Angry Orchard. They can be a little sweet, but it's good. It's good.
So it's not a dry night for you?
No. Oh God, no. It's been a week. To say that. It's for my job. It's the busy season, so no. It is not a dry night. It is going to be a drink on the show and then go get in the hot tub kind of night.
Fair enough. So, we were going to talk about what everybody has been talking about on Facebook, on the show tonight, and on Reddit, and on wherever we happened to have stumbled across Heathen themed questions.
Because we're lazy and want you to do our job for us.
Well, because somebody mentioned that there are a lot of questions that generate a lot of responses, and sometimes when you get so many voices all scrambling to answer a question, and then you get the very typical cantankerous response that we get from, well, us, right?
The elder curmudgeons?
Yeah. Oh, God, I'm only 28. Don't call me an elder curmudgeon.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you also get a lot because it's Facebook or it's wherever, especially Facebook. One thing that like a medium like Reddit has going for it that I will give it its props is bad answers do tend to get voted down to the bottom. But on Facebook, it's usually not the most correct answer. It's the first answer that people take. So you can get just downright crap answers. I mean, let's just, call a spade there.
Well, you not only get crap answers, but you get, well, what's the old saying? You put 3 heathens in a room and ask them one question, you get 6 different answers?
Yeah, that's also true. And I think that there's definitely some of that. There's also, I mean, and I hate to use this as a cop-out, but you've also got tradition and regional differences. I mean, one thing that we have seen this week that is the answer that some Theodesman might give you. Theodes woman, Theodes person, something.
By the way, it's Theod. Whatever.
You know what? At least I'm not calling them the Theodish. So, anyway, they're already mad.
Theodish, so
they're mad at me already. So, everybody's mad at me at some point. But the point I'm trying to make is the answer that you're going to get from them versus the answer you're going to get from someone who practices. It's just there's gonna be differences in traditions that are gonna get, because you're gonna hear one answer and then, I mean, just take how we pronounce, how the word ossuary is pronounced. Okay? Go to the West Coast, go to the East Coast, go to the South, and there's 8 different pronunciations. I use that one because that's one that pretty much I think everyone has a frame of reference for. Even though that's not a term any of us use, it's a term that, in my experience, is one of those that if you've been around for any length of time, you've heard a bajillion pronunciations. And so we're going to talk about some of these questions this week. And not only that, we're going to kind of set a limit so we can get to several, like time limits, so we can get to several. But one of the other things that I know I had brought up I want to touch on is why are these questions getting asked? And, why these questions get asked? And then maybe even if we have time, touch on how do you weed out, the good from the bad in these kind of discussions? Because if you go into one of those giant groups like Heathenry on Facebook and ask a question and you're going to get 100 answers, how do, yes, we're a reputation-based culture, but if you're new, how do you know whose reputation to listen to? I don't know. If I get 100 answers, I might know 5 people. Maybe. So, that's my take on it, at least. What are we going to hit on, Josh, first?
Well, I was actually just scrolling through to find the first one, and then my phone locked itself, and I lost my spot, so bear with me 10 seconds here.
That's all right. It happens. So,
I do remember the first one, though. It's, would Celtic paganism fall under heathenry? And
So, yeah.
There's a lot of context to the question, such as, the Celtic peoples are from Europe, mostly from Northern Europe, just not Northeastern Europe, where a lot of the Germanic peoples were from. It tends to be more Northwestern. But, what do you think?
Maybe. And that here's my thing. I don't know enough about Celtic Reconstructionism to be able to say a definitive yes or no. I think that from what I know, there are some worldview overlaps. There are some belief overlaps. And there was definitely cultural contact. But at the same time, I just don't know enough. That's like asking me, honestly, it's like asking me about, Theodish belief. I know the bare minimum. I can't make value calls on what they're, I can't say if they wanted to say we're not heathen. I don't know enough about it to say yes or no. I think that's going to be a call that gets made internally and not necessarily, and then validated externally, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just have to go with I really don't know much about Celtic Reconstructionism.
So I think we're missing a possible answer to the question.
Which is?
There was a recent thread, since we're talking social media, there's a recent thread on Reddit where the person asked, what defines heathenry? He read through the FAQ and couldn't figure it out. And the things that the beliefs that truly define what falls under that umbrella term of heathenry boil down to the core concepts. Frith, weird, orlog, luck, those sorts of things, right? So if those concepts are present within Celtic Reconstructionism, then I would argue that, yeah, it falls under the umbrella term of heathenry. Heathenry has a lot less to do with this pantheon that where a lot of people get hung up on than it does with how you are approaching the world and the divine.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I said. I said, there's similarities in, I didn't say anything about the gods, though. I said there are similarities in worldview. There are similarities in theology. However, I don't know enough about their approach to things to say yes or no. I didn't bring up the gods in one little bit, other than there might be some crossover.
Right. No, I wasn't saying that you brought up the gods. What I'm saying is heathenry in general gets hyper-focused on the Northern European pantheons, right? You hear arguments about whether Narthus is a legitimate goddess, or Eostre is a legitimate goddess, or whatever, right? But when you boil it down, the way to find the answer is to look at the core tenets that all heathens have in common, and see if those apply to this other religion. So if you're going to ask whether Celtic recon or Celtic paganism is heathen, you first have to answer the question, do they share these tenets?
So my thing then now is I'm going to sit down, and I actually know someone who's a very serious Celtic recon, and I may have a nice, interesting conversation next time we see each other.
Well, I think another thing to be considerate of is I know that you're saying that we shouldn't focus as much on the pantheon involved, but there's also the question of our gift cycle with the numinous. I mean, if I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm saying, yeah, right? But if you're not in the same gift cycle that I am, does that make you heathen?
I'm going to say, I know you're saying that, but I think the way you're defining you're not in the same gift cycle that I am, I think that's an incorrect way to try to express it, because I'm not in the same gift cycle you're in by sheer fact that you're not a member of my kindred or my family. Our gift cycle is ours, yours is yours. Are you engaging in a gift cycle
with the same people that I am?
Or the same ideas, right. Same, yeah. Because, I mean, let's be honest, you're engaged in, if you want to talk regional gods, I'm engaged in gifting cycles with deities that you're not. I mean, I know that for a fact, and I know, if you want to talk about, I'm sure that the same could be said for a lot of groups that deal with local regional gods, especially.
Right. But there's still a core. Yeah.
Are you engaged in the gift cycle? I think would definitely be, the gift cycle is one of those core things that defines who and who isn't heathen.
Well, I think I kind of pick up where Torrin's going, is there's a core to the pantheon where most heathens will approach Odin or Vodun or whoever, right? And that is the Allfather. And it's recognizable. So I think where Torrin's going is your gift cycle and the participants in it recognizable to me and mine.
And see that I disagree with this idea, because there's not, I think that the evidence that we have points much more toward regional deity than it does necessarily this idea of a refined pantheon. Because most of the archaeology, most archaeology and most research I've read ties back into that, and not into we're offering to all these different gods, but into this idea that there was an area and they worshiped Thor, and there was an area and they, so I don't know. So
are you going into requirement? Are you going into the idea that I'm not gifting to the same Odin that you're gifting to?
Possibly. Very possible.
I mean, I see that is a potential answer.
Here's the thing. I don't know. That's one of those things that, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that I'm ever going to know the answer to that, and that's okay. So for me I think if your worldview, your concepts, your actions are much more important than, are you engaging in the gifting cycle with who your representation of the numinous, the divine is more important than are you engaged with the gifting cycle with the Aesir and the Vanir.
See, I think it does need to be more localized than that, right? Because at that point you can argue, and with those criteria in place, you can argue quite eloquently that any religion that has a cycle of reciprocal gifting would be heathen. You could argue that there are heathens who are practicing Wiccans, and those two are very different based solely on the gifting cycle.
But that's not the only requirement. There's multiple requirements that, there is, what are their worldview concepts? Frith, weird. Gifting cycle is a piece of it. It's not the whole, like I said, when you break it down, what is heathen, what is not, it comes down to multiple concepts that all get encompassed in this worldview that we all argue about what exactly it means. But the point is, if you are a practicing Wiccan, once again, I've said this numerous times, went to a Wiccan seminary, know a lot about Wiccan theology, both Neo-Wicca and what would be considered like traditional Wicca and Gardnerian lineage Wicca. And the theological and worldview is so different because the gifting cycle doesn't have, even if they're doing a gifting or an offering, it doesn't have the same meaning. It's the intention, the actions are different. They're trying to do it. They are, at least in my opinion, our attitudes towards it are so different that it's a worldview difference. How are they approaching gifting? How are they approaching the gods? How are they approaching? I think it all comes down to a how and why less than a, it's the best I can explain it. It really comes down to a how and why.
Well, and we've argued a lot of times, and Toby has talked about this on the show and in private with, I think, all of us, about how heathenry has a methodology to it. It has a how. And that how comes with a why. We gift because we were gifted and so that we will be gifted.
Whereas the theology behind that kind of thing from, say, a Wiccan standpoint is I gift to improve my personal power. Completely, even if, intentions and reasoning is so different that you can't say, I think that you have, when it comes down to it, what is heathen is all of these kind of things that are practice couched in a worldview. Because I can go through the motions of everything that you do, Josh. I'm just going to use you as my example.
I'm offended.
I know. But if I don't have the worldview, you're heathen and I'm not.
Did you just assume his theology?
No, I just said I could do what Josh does. Josh is a heathen.
God damn it, Torin, don't try and derail this.
I'm drinking, Torin, don't distract me.
Well, I think we're swiftly approaching a point where the answer to the original question here about whether Celtic Recons can be called heathens is
maybe
that we can't, we can only answer that question by trying to answer the much larger and more contentious question of what is a heathen.
How about this? How about let's ask a Celtic Recon?
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what I will ask my friend who's a Celtic Recon, and I'll do a short video. So we'll follow this
Beyond that, right?
Right.
I happen to know for a fact we have some people who are not heathen who listen to this podcast on a weekly basis. If you are one of those people, we appreciate your viewership.
We do, but I mean, I'm a heathen and I don't listen.
Sometimes even when we're broadcasting.
It's true. But if you are a Celtic Recon who happens to enjoy Heathen Talk because we're entertaining as hell, send us a message. Do a short video on YouTube, tag us in it, and tell us about whether or not your core beliefs would line up with heathenry and whether or not you would even want that title. Tell us what you think.
Exactly. Or if you were have a really strong, if you have a really strong opinion on anything we say, you want to make a video on YouTube and tag us, awesome. Please do. That would be so much fun. So, Josh, what's our next question?
Torin, you were saying something.
Go ahead, Torin. Sorry.
I was just gonna,
I need time to look up the question. So
I was gonna kind of reiterate some of the point there that if we ever say anything on air that you're either confused about or you think we're absolutely wrong about or anything, we try to frequently encourage you to actually tell us, because how else are we gonna address whether or not we were wrong if nobody actually tells us?
Oh, I know. And I do want to address one thing that did come up on the subreddit. Contrary to popular belief, Shauna Jones and I are not the same person. There are 2 podcasts with 2 different women, and both of us are heathen, and we are not the same person. Should I bring that up? If I have to go take a picture of the 2 of us together at Winter Mood or something, I find that hilarious. That
okay, for the record,
think that we're all the same.
For the record, the fact that I don't listen to Heathen Talk also extends to other Heathen podcasts, so I don't know who this person is.
Because you didn't. She's been on Heathen Talk too.
So basically, Torin, and this is going to tie into the fact that you may do another podcast at some point.
I might, and I do not expect you people to listen to me.
You may not expect us to listen to you, but if you want to do podcasts as well, you need to listen to your competition.
Yes,
that's what I hear.
Listen to other beer.
That's the worst.
And honestly,
I don't want to listen to other people.
Anyway, so Josh,
talk over them. Jesus,
Other people are the worst.
Josh, I do listen to a lot of other Heathen podcasts, and there's some pretty good stuff out there. So those of you who are doing well, keep going at it. Those of you who aren't, it's okay. So, Josh, next question.
So the next question isn't really a question, and it's more of a discussion topic. Understanding how oaths work. I know we recently did an episode on oaths, I believe, or at least part of one on oaths. And for instance, how conditions of employment might be tied to an oath. Spoiler, they're not.
No.
No. So
it's a contract, not an oath.
When it comes to oaths, right? And we did 90 minutes on this, but okay. There are certain situations where you are saying you will do something in exchange for something, and that relationship is a contract relationship. It is not an oath. It is you will provide me with good A, I will provide you with service B.
You pay me, I show up.
Has nothing to do with an oath, and frankly, I don't know how to stretch that one out.
Yeah, that's, I think we're gonna oaths.
Unless you can wax for 10 minutes on it.
I mean, there really is no need to stretch it out. I mean, it's the concept of what an oath is pretty well defined. I think that if we would just be covering a lot of the same ground that we did an entire episode on if we were to go too much further into it. So if the fact that we're telling you, no, it's not an oath, it's a contract, isn't enough of an answer for anybody who may want to answer that question, then go look back through our archives and find our episode about oaths and listen. And while the episode in of itself probably isn't complete,
it'll give you a good place to start.
Just about any topic we cover. So we did a solid minute.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say oaths have a specific criteria, and a condition of employment does not meet any of those criteria. So that I think is the important thing there.
Well, let's try to draw it out. This one out a little bit. I would be willing to say that an oath has, and that there would probably be a very good way for people to start trying to define when they're looking at things and saying, have I broken an oath or what? Trying to define whether or not they have broken an oath or whether they've even made an oath is, was there a ritual aspect to this? Was this a ritualistic thing you did? Did you go through ritual for this? If the answer is I walked into my employer's office and signed a piece of paper, the answer is no. If the answer to that is well, somebody asked me to do a thing and I promised I'd do it, the answer is no. There was no ritual action there. There was just words between people. And while words are important and words do mean things, there's a whole other set of language involved with a ritual. You've heard the word semiotic thrown around on this podcast before, and that's what we're talking about, is a particular type of language that is the action of ritual. So
yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. That's yeah. So your contract with your employer, not an oath. However, if you do not heed, I will add a caveat here that keeping your word does build your reputation. Reputation is important.
Right. And last I checked, for the most part, oaths don't get continually renegotiated like employment contracts do.
Yeah.
It's true.
And
Funny
say that I would probably never be willing to take an oath.
No. Now, kind of
unless that oath, I was going to do the oath included that every 6 months I'd receive a $2 an hour pay raise, and I might reconsider. But
I will say it's kind of interesting. I got into this, like, I'm a member of a completely non-heathen related community, and someone posted these miniature oath ring wedding rings, and people are like, what? I don't understand. I'm like, well, actually, I think they're trying to make that an oath ring, and it's not. But and then I got to explain oath rings to a whole bunch of like non-heathen atheist people. It was kind of cool, and they're like, oh wow, that's really interesting. So, and fun times. I'm trying to kill time for Josh.
Yeah. Also, I will point out another one too, is that I actually did see come up not too long ago. An oath made in a reenactment situation is not an oath. It's a reenactment.
Yeah.
Just like the Navy captain you saw in the movie wasn't really a Navy captain.
Just like in reality, people on TV shows that got married are not married.
Right.
So here's a new one for you. And it's not a new question. It's kind of this particular one is a play on a question that comes up every once in a while, and it is doing something to honor something that was in one of the stories or part of the lore. For instance, when I was a new heathen, I wanted to make a pilgrimage and go and see where Thor's Oak used to be and that sort of stuff, right? And that was before I understood that this is where my heathenry is. My heathenry doesn't exist in Germany because, well, I'm not from Germany.
I kind of want to go to some of those places just because I'm a giant nerd, but it has nothing to do with heathenry. It has everything to do with I'm a giant nerd who likes these things.
But what do we think about taking actions such as replanting an endangered tree or traveling to Thor's Oak or trying to find the actual location of the original Irminsul?
I'm going to say something that's kind of like hippy-dippy MUS, and y'all just going to have to deal with it. But is it improving? Okay, if you do this, is it improving your life? Is it improving your family's life? Is it improving your well-being, your tribe's well-being, your kindred's well-being, whatever? Knock yourself out. There are things that I do that I have contemplated that are similar, that aren't any kind of prescribed action, but at the same time, I feel drawn to do it because these particular actions make me feel more connected. They make me feel better. They make me, whatever. I'm planning on going to Iceland to the new Asatru temple over there for no other reason than I just really want to go and I want to see it. And I think it would be really cool to see an area that I've read so much about when I've read through various sagas and whatnot, to actually see the place I've read about, to put this kind of physical place with it. Does that matter? Not really. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But if it makes your life better, makes your family better, makes your tribe better, do it. It's the same thing I feel with like therapy, or if you as a woman want to only wear your hair up if you're married, which is something I genuinely have thought a lot about. And I continue to do research on to try to find out reasoning for it. Do it. If it improves your practice as a heathen, and it's not hurting anybody, and it's only serving to improve your life and improve your family, I don't see the harm in it at all. But that's, once again, just me.
What do you think, Torrin?
I mean, I don't know. It kind of falls into a you do you sort of scenario. I've got there are things that I do or and so on and so forth that are done to honor certain people. I have a time once a year where I drink to my dead and with some of my people, and that's done in their honor. And a lot of it is stuff I'd rather not be drinking because some of my dead had terrible taste. I've got tattoos that are either in honor of an individual or of a tradition. You know, I've got a tattoo that has to do with the fact that I'm third generation U.S. Navy. You know, you just do what it is that makes sense for you and your people. If you're doing something that's, you know, in honor like that is detrimental to your folk, then you're not honoring anybody. And so just kind of make that judgment call, I guess.
I think that is probably the big thing is you've got to, I mean, if it's empowering your folk, if it's improving your lives, do it. If it's not, then obviously don't. But that's how I feel about most things.
Hell, if it's neutral and it just makes you happy, go ahead.
Yeah. I would say, I would argue if it makes you happy, it's improving your life and your people's.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
The sub-question, or the subtext really to the question is, do we need a heathen justification to do things?
No.
Whether it's body modification, traveling to Europe, planting a tree, trying to breed back into existence the aurochs, which is really cool, but I'm not entirely sure it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Do you need to justify that as a heathen action, or can you just do it because it's cool?
No. Next question.
I disagree with you, Karen. I think
Really?
that it's
Okay.
perfectly okay because at the end of the day, isn't everything that I do ideally a heathen action by the sheer fact that I'm a heathen? So if I want to say that this is if this is spiritually or religiously significant to me, knock yourself out. It's not, I don't see a reason why you can't put a religious or a spiritual significance on something if you want to.
Okay, I guess I'm going to have to be less lazy about this and actually give a full answer on this. First of all, I would say that I was going with the original purpose. I thought of the question was, does everything we do need to have a heathen context? And I say no to that.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
You know, not everything in your life has to relate back to heathenry. Now, unless you take the position that it sounded to me like you were taking was that every action you do is a heathen action because you're a heathen.
You know, and I'm going to be honest, I try to relate everything that I do back to heathenry because heathenry is my worldview. Heathenry is what is supposed to, that worldview and those beliefs are what are supposed to guide my decisions and actions. So, you know, to me, that's also a big part of it, but that's a more of a holistic approach to the worldview, and not everyone takes that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, there's going to be a lot of things. Like any seriously major thing I do is probably going to have some sort of consideration behind it that has heathen elements. But when I do things that aren't, you know, all that serious, you know, a little while ago I ate a cinnamon roll. And I was definitely not eating a heathen cinnamon roll. I was just eating a delicious cinnamon roll. In fact, I would say it was specifically not a heathen cinnamon roll because I got it from a coffee shop run by a local church. That was not a heathen action, and it didn't require any sort of a heathen justification for it. You know, I would say that most of the people that I did, or most of the things that I did today, had no heathen context to them. Went out with some friends to a local brewery and had a pint. There was nothing heathen about that other than, you know, maintaining relationships. But, you know, that's hardly something that heathens have a stranglehold on. You know, they don't have a patent on maintaining relationships.
We don't have a patent on a lot of the stuff we do, but we still do it for, I don't know, to me, I guess because my approach to the worldview is holistic, I try to consider my heathen values in almost every decision I make. Do I succeed all the time? Oh, hell no. But it's a goal I have. So yeah, do I go and buy this pastry? Well, the consideration is, do I have enough money in the bank to do it? Okay, great. It's not going to hurt my family or, put me out to go buy this cinnamon roll. For me, it's going to make me sick because I can't have wheat. So that's going to be detrimental not just to me, but that's going to be detrimental to my husband. And so I guess, like I said, it's a worldview difference. It's a difference of approach that we have, I think, to worldview and everything. But at the end of the day, not everything needs to be heathen themed. I will give you that. I don't think that you need to, I'm going to put on my heathen pants and my heathen shirt and, I can't leave the house without my hammer and but, the house is on fire, but I can't leave without putting my hammer on, it's still, though, I think that we should try to, I guess, build ourselves so that our worldview is that way. So that our worldview is coloring every decision we make. Did not spill the beer or the cider.
Good job. See, in all honesty, I think you're both right in that there are things that we do that are not heathen. Being heathen is part of who we are, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when I ride the bus, I'm not riding the bus because I'm an eco-sensitive heathen. I'm riding the bus because I don't have a car.
Yeah, well, in all fairness, Josh, I when Lauren finished just a minute ago, I was trying to launch into this whole thing about how I think we basically agree and are actually coming from the same worldview and having a semantic difference. But I had muted my mic so that I could turn off the alarm telling me my laundry was done, and I was talking to nobody. So
that does happen. But Josh, okay, so let me throw something at you when you say that. But you have a job, right?
Of course.
And you contribute to your household.
I do.
You contribute to other things, and you have that job in part because being heathen means that you have responsibilities, and so you ride that bus because you're going to a job that are tied back into your responsibilities because you're heathen. And that's how I'm seeing things. That's where my brain is.
And I can see where your brain is. My point would be whether I was heathen or not, I would have the job.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
But
Josh is kind of like eating and sleeping with a roof over his head. So
yeah,
like most people.
Some days.
But yeah, I mean, the point is, your worldview should color everything, but not everything it must be heathen. I must drive my Valhalla mobile or whatever.
Well, so I have tattoos. I have precisely one tattoo that is heathen themed. The rest of them are just tattoos.
I have exactly 0 heathen themed tattoos. Because I have never gotten one. I got my one tattoo before I was heathen, and I got my other tattoo to honor my grandparents. So, and my next tattoo is not going to be heathen themed either, because quite frankly, I'm not like a huge fan of like giant raven. I'm just a lot of it aesthetic.
My raven is pretty.
Giant ravens. I said giant ravens. Yeah, a lot of things.
Isn't the tattoo you got honoring your grandparents, a heathen tattoo?
Yes, but it's not a heathen-themed tattoo, I guess would be a better word to put it. It's not a Norse-themed tattoo.
There you go.
There's a lot of the Norse aesthetic, especially that you see kind of modern Viking stuff, I just don't think is that attractive. I'm just kind of like, okay, sure.
What's funny is a lot of the Norse-themed stuff, the modern Viking-themed stuff, doesn't resemble what they would have been wearing.
Oh, I know, but a lot of...
Now, you show me a bearded dude in silks, and I will shake the hand of the man who gets that tattoo. In fact, I'll tell you what, right now, on air, if you are listening to Heathen Talk and you want to go get a tattoo of a Viking period Norseman wearing silks, I'll give you $20 towards your tattoo.
But yeah, I mean, to me, it's a matter of I don't need like everything to be heathen themed, and it's like, yeah. Anyway, I think that kind of ties into another thing that was really discussed this week, if you don't mind me bringing up, and that is the whole Columbus Day, Leif Erikson Day, Indigenous Peoples Day discussion that I saw everywhere. And I think this is as close as politics as we're going to get, guys. So, yeah, we're not going to talk about, like, presidential elections or anything. I hate to bum you out, but, I think that I'm not a fan of Leif Erikson. Not really a fan of Columbus.
So I gotta ask, why aren't you a fan of Leif Erikson?
Because he was like an uber Christian. Like he was a Viking, but he was not a heathen by any means.
Well, sure, but I mean, I'm a huge fan of Sir Francis Drake, and he wouldn't have known what to do if he walked into a heathen ritual.
Yeah, but I'm not like Leif Erikson's I don't know, like I said, he's a lot of heathens want to like use him as their substitute Christopher Columbus because Christopher Columbus was Christian. The fact of the matter is, Leif Erikson was also Christian, and quite frankly, neither one of them discovered North America. So, why do they get credit?
Well, I mean, if we're going to get down to who discovered North America, both of them discovered North America because they discovered it for their people.
Right, but they were not the first person here.
No, but I mean, hell, the first people on Europe weren't actually the first people on Europe.
Yeah,
that's just the way things are. Like I mean, does America get credit for discovering the moon because we landed there first?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
You heard it here first, folks. America discovered the moon.
We get credit for being the first ones to land there.
So I guess shouldn't Leif Erikson get credit for being the first Icelander to land on North America?
Well, I mean, by that regard, then shouldn't should we have a holiday for Leif Erikson, have a holiday for the first Brit, for the first...
I'm thinking we should replace it all with Amerigo Vespucci Day.
See, now that the first got a map, I'm okay with that, because mapping is awesome, and I'm a map nerd, but, I guess that is the thing with me, like I said, he's not like this, it's the approach. I think where my issue comes down, it's the approach, is that people are so desperate to like not be part of the overculture, which is like the first time we've said this tonight. I'm going by my experiences here, that they want to try to substitute overculture things with heatheny things.
Well, I'm actually agreeing with you here.
Yeah.
You know what? It's just as bad as the whole Leif Erikson Day push is just as bad as Einherjar Day, or Feast of the Fallen, or Feast of the Einherjar, whatever various groups want to call it.
Feast of Volley.
Yeah, Feast of Volley was going to be my next one, or any other of these ridiculous holidays that get added to. I'm not even going to say heathen. I'm going to say a Satru or eclectic Northern tradition liturgical calendars that are just trying to shove a Norse template over culture creations.
But I think there's a reason that they do it.
I would like to chime in really quick. In Seattle and Portland and a few other places on the West Coast, I think a few other cities around the country, it's being changed to Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, and that's pretty actually becoming pretty common.
Now, I mean, it's already just a holiday, and I don't think a holiday needs to be heathen if you're celebrating with your people. So, I don't know, just kind of go from there with that. I'm going to mic out again.
There's Matt always keeping us on topic. But the point I was going to make was that there's a reason that this is a common theme, right? And there's this feeling that every holiday, every special day we have is dominated by Christianity. We have Christmas, we have Saint Valentine's Day, we have Easter, which is actually the resurrection of Jesus Christ and is shortly after Good Friday. All of our special days have these Christian overtones, with the exception of like Thanksgiving, which has a Christian overtone as much as, well, Sunday has a Christian overtone.
And I think that, and that, I can understand the sentiment behind it, because I struggle with this idea of wanting things of my own, things that are expressions of my heathenry, that are unique and special. It's all, whether we like it or not, we all to some degree suffer from special snowflake syndrome. Everyone does. That's what makes it so great. And I do think
that's what makes me special.
Yeah, there you go. But it is hard to try to find that balance between being, I don't know, it's really, really hard for me personally.
Well, so that brings me to my other point, though, right?
Yeah.
Look at what heathens across the country are doing. We're coming up with our own days.
Yeah.
And we're not just shoving our name on another day. For instance, I actually know very few groups who actually do winter finding on Halloween anymore. I know plenty of them that shovel it around as the seasons change, but it used to be fairly common practice to just, Halloween is winter nights, and that's when the Deesir come and visit. But instead, we're ending up with days where there's a hop harvest thing, or the Theids have a calendar with actual holy days in it.
Yeah, my kindred does Feast of the First Harvest, which is because where we live, there are two harvests, and we have a and it is it's something that we do that's uniquely ours. And part of the, and I'll admit, part of our reason that we started out doing it is because we were trying to come up with reasons, I'm going to say this. One of the things that I think that works well that the neo-pagans do is that they tend to have something every 6 weeks, roughly. Mm-hmm. And that keeps people getting together. So we were trying to come up with ways to kind of, not necessarily emulate that, but have more ritual and symbol and together time. And so that's one of the things we came up with. And I think that's important. I think we need more heathen holidays on the macro sense, or micro sense, within your group and tribe, and celebrating things that are important locally. Hops Fest wouldn't really mean much to us because there's nobody really grows hops here. But we could totally have a rice fest.
You could.
And that would be
like a couple of borders over. A corn harvest festival would make so much sense, it's not even funny.
Or, and corn here, actually, they grow a lot of corn here. Or, that kind of thing.
But you're not the Huskers.
No.
So.
And like hunting, and this kind of ties into another question that was brought up this week I saw about hunting. That's something that I've actually thought about is how do we, hunting is a big thing here. And is there a ritual around it? I've started, when I stop this other research I'm doing for another show we're doing, I'm going to try to look into like any kind of ideas around like hunting ritual. If you happen to have any leads for me, Lauren@heathentalk.com, please, because only so many hours in the day.
So I'm going to pause you real quick, Lauren. I just want to give a big Heathen Talk shout out to Fusro Does husband. Thanks for listening to the show, man. We're really excited to have you here. We love having her in the audience, and she's a huge help on the subreddit.
Yes.
Torrin, say something nice about the dude.
I've never met him, but he has good taste.
Or say something nice to the dude.
Well, okay, you have good taste then, because Foos is awesome.
So there you go. But back to holidays. I think Lauren is right that we do need more of them on a micro scale, a community scale. And it's a trend that I'm seeing develop. My group has them. Torin's group is developing them. Your group is developing them. I know that they have them and are continuing to develop them. I know other groups all throughout the country are doing the same thing, including the joking chili bloat from New Mexico that the Raven Radio guys joke about all the time. Why not make it a thing? Because that's an important thing in your area.
I mean, in all seriousness, here in Arkansas, the first day of hunting season might as well be a holiday. And that's, if that's something that's important to your group, knock yourself out. No one else is showing up to school or work.
Absolutely. If you have an excuse to not show up to school or work because, I don't know, some construction worker from Israel decided to be a revolutionary and get crucified, take it. Please, by all means.
Well, unfortunately, if you want to talk about secular holidays, it doesn't get much more secular than the first day of deer season. But, yeah.
Well, that's a good holiday, though.
It is. It's a great holiday. But there's a lot of really good ones. I think there's a lot of good opportunities. I think that we need to look at what's important locally. And that, I think, comes down to my whole thing is get involved with your community. And I mean beyond your Heathen community. I mean volunteer work. We're volunteering at a warehouse for food pantries. And you go out and do stuff and get involved. And that will help you be more in tune with those things, I think. Probably.
Torin, tell us about holidays, man. Yeah, I know you're tired, but
I am very tired.
I
apologize to everyone for that. It's been a long week, and it's been a long day too. I mean, when it comes down to it, the whole point of a holiday is that you're celebrating something that's special to your people, and we have a lot of holidays that are, quote unquote, national holidays because they are culturally relevant throughout our nation. And those are probably going to be culturally relevant to you regardless of your religion.
Like Talk Like a Pirate Day.
That is not culturally relevant to me. And I do not celebrate it. It's not culturally relevant to me. I do not celebrate it, and I resent the implication. Derailed it, the entire thing. It's gone. You got the train rolling, and then you threw a spare tire on the track.
I'm trying to wake up everybody.
It's not going to happen.
Well, like 4th of July.
Right. So 4th of July, but even other holidays that are hugely important in the national overculture because of the fact that our overculture, at least in America, is predominantly Christian, and it was more so in the past. Things like Christmas have fallen into the point where they're not even. There's two different versions of it. There's the Christian holiday, and then there's the secular holiday. It's just a thing. I don't, me and mine don't, quote unquote, celebrate Christmas, but we're still getting into the festivities with our local communities around. There's another big thing right there when you're talking about trying to deal with some of these big national holidays is that, it's as much about your community as it is about whatever the original impetus of the creation of the holiday was. Just because, Christmas was originally created to celebrate the birth of an important figure in another religion from ours doesn't mean that it's not important in your local community. If you go to midnight mass with the Catholic, go to pray to Jesus before your big meal or anything, it's still important that you're having a sense of celebration around the of our religious part of that celebration. It's distinctly heathen. It's Yule, but the rest of it, it's all secular, and it doesn't matter. Other than it being a celebration of community.
And Christmas.
What What's that?
Christmas songs are catchy.
Yeah, there's some really great Christmas carols out there, and I have no shame in the fact that I do like them, as long as they don't start in October. We are a tribal people. We create our tribes, we join our tribes, and our tribes then become the source of that sort of thing for us. Josh referenced my tribe's Hops Harvest Festival. That's something that we do because it's important to us in our locality. I would not expect that to be important to anybody outside of this region. And, going beyond that, as much as I would like to see other regional tribes doing something like it, it's one of those things that I don't necessarily expect them to either, because it's not my business or my problem what other tribes are doing.
And I think that I'll be honest, my family, I celebrate Yule, I celebrate Christmas, because while I may not be a Christian, my parents are Christians. My brother is an atheist who celebrates Yule. Christmas. So it is more important to me to have that time with my family and to celebrate Christmas than it is for me to take some sort of stand and say, well, I'm a heathen and I'm not going to celebrate Christmas. Because to me, that's kind of the antithesis of being heathen. If I'm alienating my people from myself from my people, that's probably the most can do.
I concur. Any other points on this one?
I don't think so.
So there's a subtopic here. The question always comes up whenever holidays come up in discussion about holiday rituals and how we observe them. And you see a lot of people drawing way that some European villages celebrate, whether it's I forget which town it is, but they have that little ram made of a sheaf of wheat stalks, I believe.
Yeah.
And then there are other ones, for instance, the post on Facebook that I saw was about someone taking an oath inside a boar carcass. Just want to point out that would be a giant fucking boar.
Maybe you only stick your hand in it.
I don't know.
You stick the oath ring in it? I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be a huge boar.
Don't know. But so when it comes to learning these rituals, my answer to anyone who is looking to find that out is you can do your research and try to reconstruct something very similar. But it's going to be a lot easier to learn these things if you have heathens in your area who are doing things. Because there may be rituals or traditions that have popped up local to you that make a lot more sense than finding some boar somewhere and sticking your hand in it to swear an oath. Yeah,
I always read that as you swore an oath on the boar, not in the boar. But, yeah. What do I know? That was how we always did it. So you just put your hand on the ham and you're good.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a thing.
As somebody who actually has boar at Yule, nobody puts their hand on it because I would cut them.
I'm just saying.
And then their blood would season the meat.
But you also don't have a boar carcass.
Yeah.
And only the delicious parts of the boar carcass.
That's true.
And see, I'm actually trying to figure out how we can get a razorback for Yule. Because it's Arkansas, and we can't do boar. We're going to do some razorback.
I have a suggestion for your tribe if you want to start building this oathing tradition with the razorback, is that you make it a living razorback, because then people will be really, really careful and considering about how they make their oaths. If they make an oath on a living,
So
if they
basically,
make an oath on a living Razorback, they really thought about whether or not it was necessary to make it.
yeah, we'll have to go and like break into the University of Arkansas, and it's just too much work. Sorry. But really,
so the
I
question.
think that I'll tell you what though. Let me just answer this back to Tor, because this. I just had this great idea. If you could make people do oaths on greased pigs, that would really make them consider if they were going to make.
But
you got to catch this pig first.
I would totally reconsider my my personal beliefs on taking videos of holy rituals, just for that.
I mean, that's kind of one you need to video.
Oh yeah,
It could be a coming of age thing.
And honestly, at that point, the tradition really should be that every oath would start with, "Hey, Cletus, hold my mead."
And watch this.
And watch this.
So
That's how ritual begins in Texas.
Cue the butthurt on that one.
Oh, I see.
Daniel,
I'm from Arkansas.
the views of Lauren do not necessarily reflect your talk.
Once again, I'm from Arkansas. They're from Texas. We're like the only two people that can make jokes about each other, and we all make jokes about Mississippi. So,
It's like, they're from Texas. I'm from the rest of America. So
now, oh god, now I'm afraid that I've said this. The next time I go visit one of our friend kindreds, they're gonna be like, "Hey, look what we got," and it's just gonna be all over from there. But
So
yeah,
traditions, holiday traditions. What? And there's this is one of those things that it's different every time you talk to somebody about it, whether it's a family tradition, a tribe tradition, or just something you do regionally. For instance, in the Midwest, having a holiday potluck where everybody brings a casserole, and suddenly there's no vegetables to be seen because nobody bothered to bring a salad.
that would be correct. We although we're not that bad, because my kindred brother Einbar makes the absolute best green beans in the world. They're covered in cheese and like pine nuts and stuff, but they're really good. There's pretty much a demand that he bring them. But yeah, well, just to give you an idea of kind of a more mundane tradition, anytime that we have a holiday, my kindred brother Ben always cooks the pork. Without fail, that's what he does. That's his thing. That's been his thing for like 15 years, even before we were kindred mates. When we got together, he likes to cook a big old pork roast or a ham or whatever, and that's his thing, and that's what he does. And so it's cool, but it's not exactly it's whatever works, and it's a mundane thing. But I know, okay, we're gonna have a get together. Ben's gonna make the pork. Or we're going to.
I'm looking for more questions, so y'all need to talk.
Or another thing, like something that Okay, so here's a really good example. Oathing into a group. There are some groups that do it once a year. There are some groups that do it twice a year. There are some groups that do it whenever the need arises. I don't think any of those are wrong. But
Wait, I got a question. When you say once a year, you mean everybody renews their oath in a year?
No, like for instance,
or just new members.
Like new members are only oathed at Yule or Midsummer. Midsummer is the one I'm actually most familiar with. Or new members are oathed at Yule or Midsummer, and then there's some groups that just do it whenever it's appropriate for their group, and none of those are wrong or right. They're all different, but they all have meaning to the groups that are doing it. And that's what I think makes it important.
All right, so let's do a little bit of a lightning round, kind of a teaser for things some of it might be teasers for things we might talk about in the future here. But we'll start with a quick question. Runes, alphabet or magical?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I think I heard him say yes.
Yes.
All right. How do you set up a traditional heathen altar?
Very carefully.
I really don't think there's an answer for that question.
I like Toby's answer and with Fieldstone's.
Yeah.
Not with a pot.
Not with a pot.
Not with a pot.
I take exception to this. Let's see. Oh, this is great radio.
What God do I pray to for X?
Oh, yeah, that was the one that I kept forgetting to cover. Gods of the Thing. Like, I recently
did we do
saw
a whole episode on this.
I don't remember.
Maybe we didn't.
No, but I think that it's
about
something.
God of the Internet.
I think it's an interesting thing to talk about because I think that's probably the question I see the most on Reddit, Facebook, behind, or hey, I live in Sheboygan, are there any heathens here? Is okay, what God do I pray to for passing my driver's test? What God do I pray to for... I can't believe you actually said that, Josh. What God do I pray to for a safe passage? What God do I pray to for blah? And I think that, I know for me, a lot of my misconceptions about that when I came in had to do with the fact that when I was in high school, I was kind of first exposed to this whole idea. The first thing that we did was like, okay, so we're going to study this unit on mythology. And so here's Odin. And Odin is the same as Zeus. And it's the same, there was this kind of thing where we kind of lined them up and gave them and he's the god of this. And there was no I don't know, it was really kind of weird that, that's the way it was taught to me in school. So that kind of sticks with you. Yeah.
Well, I think often enough the answer to that question is that the question is wrong. It's a leading question. You're saying, I have a problem. I'm going to start with the assumption that I need to take this problem to a god, and which god should I take it to? And the honest fact is, most of the time, your assumption is wrong on that. We've talked a million times on here about, you go to Uncle Bob for the flat tire before you call the president. It's usually your ancestors or what you're looking for. And, another thing is sometimes what you're looking for doesn't even necessarily need any sort of divine intervention. There was a great one I saw on Facebook a month or two ago. I'm not going to mention the person's name because I'm not sure if she necessarily wants me to connect her to it, but if she does like it and she hears this, she is welcome to give me the transcript and we'll post it on Heathen Talk. Somebody asked the question about who they should pray to for, a healthy and easy pregnancy and a safe and happy child after delivery. And she pretty much answered that she prayed to the gods of OB and GYN. And she listened very closely to what those gods told her and did everything they said. And as a result, she has a very healthy toddler. So it was one of the most fantastic answers I've ever seen to a question like that, to be honest with you, because, it's not everything's about divine intervention. A lot of it is just, recognizing that humans are pretty good at certain things. And one of those things that we're good at in this particular case is crapping out kids. And we've made a bit of a science of crapping out kids. And so you should probably listen to the people who have made it their life's goal to educate themselves about how to crap out kids. And that can extend to all sorts of areas in your life.
Yeah. And it's one of those, I believe I said it earlier this week, where if it's something I can do, I do it. If it's bigger than I think I can handle, then I go to my ancestors or the whites or even my house god. If it's bigger than that, then my people go to the gods as a group. And if it's, existentially universe ending, then it's about time to start throwing people in bogs again.
And I think that's important. I'll tell you that there's growing up in a very, very Christian environment. I had a friend who lost their son a couple of months ago. And when he was in a coma and in the hospital, it was so hard, at least when I felt like, when I was a Christian, I could, pray for somebody. But it became this, I felt helpless. And so then I was forced to actually do stuff like take them food and actually get off my ass and not just, I can't just throw in that, thoughts and prayers, okay, great. No, I actually have to get off my ass and do something to help someone. I can't just, it's not like I don't have a vending machine God. Insert prayer, get back stuff.
So, I mean, I think we pretty much answered that one. I knew this would be a tough one because I recently, newsflash for all of Facebook, I recently stepped back and I'm no longer using the Facebook, so I didn't have anything to research, and everybody else has been busy all week.
One other, I'm going to go on one that I have seen a lot of on, not necessarily Facebook, but I have seen it on Reddit, and I've seen it in other venues over a lot. And that is, I kind of want to bring up, how do you discern what's a good and a bad answer? Like, we've talked about all these questions that get asked, and we've talked about how there are hundreds sometimes of responses on something. How do I discern, especially if I'm new or if it's something I'm not familiar with, how do I discern what's a good and a bad answer?
So you discern what's a good and a bad answer the same way I discern what is good or bad criticism. It takes work, but it's getting to know the people who are offering it. There was some recent criticism leveled at the show, and there was a significant chunk of it that I just ignored because it was by people I didn't know, had no reputation outside of their own little circle, and thus weren't worth my time. But the criticism that was coming from people who were well-known with good reputations, that needed consideration. And so if you're getting an answer from a question,
right,
the only way to really know if it's going to be a good one or a bad one is to look at the people that they're interacting with, the person who's answering your question, and find out what they think of this person. If this person is respected within a larger community for giving good opinions and good answers, that's pretty much it.
And that's why you need to develop relationships with people beyond the Facebook, the Reddit, the Twitter, the MySpace, the Tumblr, whatever. That's why face-to-face heathenry is so important. Because I could go on Facebook and ask people's opinions of something, or I can reach out to somebody that I'll be honest, I could go on one of these big sites and ask a question. Or I could go to someone I know who's been a Gothi for her tribe for 10 years, and I trust her and I know her by reputation, and ask her that same question. Where am I going to get a better answer? Probably from her. Or if I have a question about like how to pronounce something in Old Norse, I could go ask somebody on Facebook, or I could ask someone who actually, translates it for fun and profit.
I guess part of this, and I know we've talked about this at least once before on the show, is trying to develop a web of reputation. That kind of like Lauren saying, you might not know whether you can trust the person that you're seeing answers from. And this works too in just trying to sort out people that you have to deal with that you don't know. Is if I don't know a person I have to deal with, or if I don't know a person that's giving an answer, I start talking to other people I know to see if any of them have heard of this person and what they think of them, people that I already trust.
That web of reputation is so important in many things. It used to be incredibly important when it came to finding certain jobs, and at a certain level, it becomes important again. So it's not just a Heathen thing. That web of reputation is worth.
I currently have the best job that I've ever had in my life because of the web of reputation. So,
it's really kind of funny. I'm in this business professionalism class right now in school, and that's like so much of what we're talking about is networking and reputation. And I got the job I got because of that web of because it's the same thing. Because someone was willing to vouch for me and say this is a good, hardworking individual. I got same thing. Best job I've ever had.
Is this show over yet?
No,
it is 8:27. We have 3 minutes left. I want to apologize.
Sweet filler time.
There are a few people who were expecting responses from me, and like I said at the beginning of the show, I've been kind of dead to the world the past couple of days. If I promised you a response, you will get one. Just bear with me while I deal with this stuff that's going on in my life right now. And as always, you are welcome to shoot a message to hosts@heathentalk.com, and one of my esteemed colleagues will be sure to answer you. Most likely, Lauren.
If you are, I will say this, and I want to put this plug in once again. If you listen to the last Ladies Night, my friend Destiny, her tribe is running Midwest Winter Moot. I'm going to be there. I'm doing a workshop. We're going to have Heathen Talk swag. I got stickers. They're really cool. We're going to be auctioning off a t-shirt. So please come out for that. And please, you still have time to register. It's at buyforustway.org. It's where you'll go to do that. And it's going to be a great time. And I really hope that you will come if you're in the area and tell them that Heathen Talk sent you.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I do want to mention that we are pushing this year is we're going to try and do more things as Heathen Talk. So if you are going to an event either in the general Cascadia region or Arkansas, maybe even New York, if I can convince Mark to do things, look out for someone in a Heathen Talk t-shirt or with a Heathen Talk card or banner or something, because
I got a really cool banner. I'm really excited about it.
Hey, if you show up to next year's Cascadia Moot wearing a Heathen Talk branded t-shirt, and I'm just going to throw this out here now straight off the cuff, you will get a hearty handshake and a welcome.
You'd probably get one anyway. But,
well, you'll get a welcome if you show up, but a hearty handshake is reserved for people who choose to give them to and those wearing Heathen Talk t-shirts.
And I will also throw out there that one of our other Heathen Talk network hosts, Ben, will be with me as well. So you'll get to meet 2 Heathen Talk hosts if you come out to Midwest Winter Moot. Guys, go to our website, interact with us. I've got a new blog post up. We'll have a new L-Guide collection post up on Mondays and new podcasts on the site every Sunday. So lots of reason for you to go to heathentalk.com.
Absolutely. And again, if you are interested in having a short video post answering a question from one of the hosts, shoot it over to hosts@heathentalk.com or josh@heathentalk.com, and we will work on getting a video up. We are still working on getting that site off the ground, but none of y'all are asking questions.
Seriously,
guys. Make a video series about answering your questions if y'all don't have questions. Send me your questions.
Yeah.
And on that note, y'all are doing it wrong.
And hey, go
ahead.
You seem to have it in hand.
What?
Never mind.
Are we live still?
Yeah, we're still live. You know what, Torin? Just say it.
I think we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Torin, you got to get it out, man.
Josh said you're not the you're doing it wrong.
But he is the boss to me. He keeps saying that.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, how about this? You're not the boss of me.
And you're definitely doing it wrong.
Yeah, usually.
Everybody have a good week.